Hello and welcome to Chemistry 223. So I'm your teacher, Joyce Sherpa, and this is part of our first lab. So some of the labs have an additional at-home challenge that I did for the 2 years we had COVID. And so they are still a part of your lab since you're not writing formal lab reports for me. And so this is part of first lab and has a 7-day challenge. And this is also a way you can get to know me for those who choose to watch this. And since our real theme this summer is about pH and balance, equilibrium, your pH is what you eat. And there I am, in case you haven't met me. And that is from the very first nuclear reactor, which is in Idaho, and you can go visit it. And that's picture me. That's not here at Mount Hood. This is at that nuclear reactor in the middle of Idaho. It's really in the middle of nowhere, which is why they put it there. And I highly encourage you to go and visit it. And there's a chain reaction. And when I used to show this slide 2 years ago, I would actually talk about that this is good review for that's this is fission, showing a fission reaction and all the neutrons going off. We used to have a final exam that was comprehensive over everything. But it turns out, thank you, Google and COVID, that exam is completely available to you online. So we won't be doing that exam. So pH, we're going to learn about pH scale, quick review. So it can go, actually can be negative. You can have a pH below 0. You can have a pH above 14, but most people think of it in this range. And 7 is considered neutral. That would be at 25 degrees Celsius. Anything below 7 is considered acidic. Anything above is basic or alkaline. And so our blood is actually slightly alkaline, and that's because our body temperature is slightly above 25 degrees. And this is like the biggest myth of all time, because fruits and vegetables will always show up acidic if you test them in a test tube. When your body metabolizes them, because of all the amazing nutrients they have, they actually alkalinize your blood. And that is what we're going to talk about. Oh, there we go. So our pH of our blood, normal is actually 7.4. So we always want to be slightly alkaline. Acidosis is when pH of your blood is below 7.2, really below 7.35. And Americans are in a state, and we have been for actually 40 years since the processed food industry took over, been in a state of chronic metabolic acidosis, where we're not dead, we're not down in the death zone, but we're walking around in acidosis, feeling crappy because our diet is crap. And that is really what my passion is. And you'll see that as you get to know me over the term. We really want to be in that normal range, which is always slightly alkaline. Alkaline is if you get above that, it's really hard to end up above the 7.45. But if you go too far out of the zone, pH is a log scale. So every small change is actually a huge change in hydronium ion, which we'll be talking about during this first week, and you'll all become quite intimate with it. So metabolic acidosis, you take anatomy and physiology, you get to learn all these things, the definition, blah, blah, blah. But the real point in chemistry has to do with that ion. And you all remember the name of it. That is bicarbonate. And when our bicarbonate levels go lower, our pH will drop and we'll end up in acidosis. And so that's where, pictures are worth a billion trillion words. And we all want our blood to have that nice fluffy pink cells, not the acidic cells. And they show you the cause of it. And actually the number one cause is animal products, as well as sugar, highly refined stuff, crap, soft drinks. And how can we keep our blood beautiful? Not alkalosis, but in that nice zone of health is eating fruits and vegetables, real food. So really keeping it real. So you have a choice. You always have had a choice. And that's part of what the lab is. So I did a quick Google search and found zillions of articles looking at the effect of our diet and that we're in this chronic state of acidosis. But hey, don't worry, we got a pill for that. And the cause is protein, too much protein. Oh my gosh, did I say we eat too much protein? Heaven forbid. And that too much protein actually pulls calcium out of your bones because your body is trying to buffer that decrease in pH from the overconsumption of animal protein. Plant protein doesn't actually do the same, except we're now highly processing the plant protein. And anytime you process food, it acidifies. And then you start pulling minerals out of your bones to balance the pH, and you end up with bones that don't have enough minerals. And that leads to pretty much every chronic disease that you can think of, that you've heard of. And so this is a picture from their slide. So you end up with bone fractures or creaky bones, like the Tin Man. That is Joey, my model for these. Or really high cortisol, which means you're always afraid. We live in a state of fear. That can cause all of this too. So it's a cause and effect. Doesn't really matter what the cause is. You end up with high blood pressure. You lose protein from your muscles. And that middle one is insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, and your kidneys are suffering. So what kind of food makes it alkaline? Fruits and vegetables. It's really simple. I want you to notice dark chocolate is in the neutral part there. And then the acidifying ones are the crap, the highly processed food, which didn't exist until 40 years ago. And so this we're going to talk about during the term. The double arrows is equilibrium, which we'll talk about on the first day. It's really the myth that we've perpetuated for 2 terms because we left out the double arrows. But you really want to eat a rainbow because real food is really high in bicarbonate, and bicarbonate keeps our body in the alkaline area. And so there we go. There's my best friend, bicarbonate. Bicarbonate will bind to the hydrogen and keep this hydrogen level low. And low hydrogen means your pH stays slightly alkaline. When bicarbonate is low, which is what it is in the processed food and when you eat a lot of animal products, that what happens if bicarbonate is low, we're going to learn this with the Chateliers on day 2, this whole thing shifts in the forward direction to try to make more bicarbonate. And that makes more hydrogen ion also. And when you have more hydrogen ions, that drops the pH. We're not in the death zone, we're just in the feeling crappy zone because we eat a crappy diet. And Mr. Potato Head, he's loaded with bicarbonate. So Sherpas eat lots of potatoes. This is the potato fields, Alubari in Nepal. I'm probably the only white face that's ever actually been there. It's in really high up. Those cliffs are really that steep, and this path is in the middle of nowhere. And Pimba, the one with the yellow backpack, is decided he was going to take us up there to help us meet the yak herders and the goat herders. And thankfully, we did meet them. When I say eat the rainbow, this is what most Americans think of. They eat the rainbow. They eat it in all different colors. And what happens? Oh, right, Kool-Aid, right? You end up sick, really sick. Your brain, 2 commercial baked goods, not Sherpa homemade, yummy baked goods made with no oils, no process, and made with lots of love, but the easy bake oven ones, 2 per week doubles the rates of depression. Most people are eating 2 of those commercial baked goods per day. So imagine, what are the rates of depression? Outrageous. There's a huge link behind processed sugars and depression. And think about all those coffees that people are drinking and how much sugar, because you guys aren't drinking coffee, you're drinking adult milkshakes that are laden with sugar and caffeine and other stuff. Anyway, sugar is a huge free radical. It steals electrons. You guys remember electrons were in chemistry, it steals an electron, and you suddenly have a very unhappy little red molecule in the middle. And it's God's eyes on the nice stable green molecule, and it's going to steal an electron. So there's the octet rule. Antioxidants, which are found loaded in vegetables and fruit especially, have extra electrons, and they gladly will fill in the missing one. Why you want to eat lots of fruits and vegetables. So eating commercial crap, highly processed, it's going to cause free radical damage. It's going to overstimulate the dopamine center in your brain, and it's pretty much has the same effect on your brain as cocaine, that you get this over reward of dopamine and you keep wanting more and more and more. And so you can see the person who eats too much sugar and the person who does cocaine, same effect. And oh, there you go. And it shrinks your brain. I don't want my brain to look like that. I want my brain to be the one on the left, a healthy brain. So the high blood sugar, it shrinks your brain. They've done tons of brain scans. So you want to eat nutrient-dense foods, fruits, Veggies, high in phytochemicals. And by the way, supplements, they don't have the same effect as the real food because it's the vibes. You're going to hear me say it. I have to get back in practice, right? It's all in the vibes. Mother Nature packaged things in vibes. Our body recognizes these vibes and it knows what to do with it. Supplements do not have the vibes because they've been highly processed also. Eat real food. Stop eating crap. So it's summertime. You can eat lots of fruits and vegetables. So the Mediterranean diet, which is high in fruits and vegetables, and the Western diet, which is high in processed food. Well, the temporal lobe, which is your hearing, really kind of important when you're taking a chemistry class or any time in life. Hearing and having the ability to speak to other people, forming words. The ventricle system is a little bit different on the two. The ventricle system is this area that is responsible for the fluid transportation within your cerebral spinal fluid. And you can see in the Western diet with the red arrows that it's like enlarged. It's not going to work quite right. And the temporal lobe is like wilted away. And then the hippocampus, what's that for? Well, learning and memory. And neuroplasticity is like this key word. Our brains heal. They just need the right food, the right attitude. That's the next slideshow. There we go. So my goal for this first week is, besides learning this, I want you guys to start eating healthier. So I don't want your brains to be shrunk. I want by that time we get to our first exam in week 2, that your brains, neuroplasticity is real, that your brains are thriving and you go, I can do anything. Sweetest tooth? Well, we don't have it. Who guessed it? It's not USA #1, Australia and New Zealand, but Australia wins this one. 40 kilograms per person per year. I forget what year that's from. Anyway, you can see this map has gotten much worse in the past 2 years with COVID. Everyone eats so much sugar. I remember the day before COVID happened, I said to my students, you know what? Maybe people will start eating healthier now. And then I went to the store, and I keep going to the store, and people have more crap. But the thing that was also interesting when I showed this slide before COVID, I had a student who was from the Middle East. And she said, oh, look, my country, because the countries that are the richest and the countries that are the poorest, not the poorest, but yeah, South America, Brazil is a huge issue, and Starbucks is a huge issue. So if you're somebody who's like, I have to have my Starbucks every day, look at your vocabulary. Do you really have to have it every day? No. For 7 days, you can go without it. So pick your thing that you're going to give up for the next 7 days. That's all you have to do. Your crappiest thing in your diet that you know you need to give up. And if you do it for the whole 30 days, while also adding something, we'll get to that. Here we go, kids. 6 teaspoons a day of sugar is all they should have. You have one soda, they've already, and nobody has a soda like that. They all go and get those supersized things. Oh, and the iced tea, those things are filled too. The juices, everything. The juice has more than the soda, and there's those little juice packets. Oh, and the Red Bull. Yeah. All right. So this is an old picture because actually the Red Bull and stuff, I think, is at the level of the kids' eyes. I don't know. I don't go down that aisle in the supermarket. But the average American has 533 sodas per year. This number has changed. This is an old statistic because the energy drinks and all that other stuff. But basically, you get the idea that we're drinking our sugar, and that means it doesn't register as calories, and you still eat the same amount. Oh, and the fake sugars are actually worse for you because fake sugar completely, they found it's the worst thing for the microbiome. It's pretty much, you might as well give antibiotics to your microbiome and say, hello, I'm going to destroy you so that you can't function correctly, because your microbiome is what feeds you. We live in a symbiotic relationship. Coffee. I have no problem with you having coffee. I drink coffee many mornings. Probably why I'm talking a mile a minute. But most of you are drinking the salted caramel mocha. 570 calories. And that's not even the super tall, whatever. I don't even know the names of them. 73 grams of sugar. It's not the fat, it's the sugar. But the added oil, I forgot to add that slide. You're in luck. This was really cool. This was right before COVID also. So the Children International was big about having a soda tax, which I think we're going to get. because it was killing our kids. The rates of diabetes in children is terrible. And then they got a grant from Pepsi and a matching grant from Coca-Cola. And of course, they stopped pushing for a soda tax. But right before COVID happened the year before, right? American Heart Association, American Academy of Pediatrics said, oh my God, we have to put a tax on soda. You know, in my high school, I'm this ancient, we did not have a soda machine. I remember when the first soda machine showed up and we all sat there in the cafeteria saying, what were we supposed to do with that? And then somebody had a quarter and we all stopped talking and watched the kid walk over to the soda machine. And I don't even know, I probably was Pepsi. Pepsi gave us some money to build a track or something. And happened. All right. So the biggest proponent for a soda tax is actually the World Bank, because diabetes, our healthcare system, is going to bankrupt the world. And then COVID happened. And so we're just escalated how fast it'll happen. So what does refined mean? Oh, this lovely lady, it means developed, improved, so as to be precise and subtle. As she's eating her highly refined hamburger, elegant, cultured in appearance, manner, or taste. They picked that word on purpose, refined food, so it sounds elegant. Millions died in the 19th century from beriberi because of vitamin B deficiency. A Nobel Prize was awarded, one of the first Nobel Prizes in medicine, because they figured out it was from polishing rice. And so they said, hey, we have a cure. And you know what they did? They said, here, eat rice bran. Instead of saying, hey, why don't you just eat the brown rice? Stop polishing the rice. But instead, they said, here, we'll give you a supplement. Instead of saying, just eat the real food instead. So could our epidemic, heart disease, metabolic syndrome, mental illness be so simple? Yeah, I'm a little geeky with the rainbow thing, but get used to it. Eat real food. That's all I'm asking. Humor me. Stop eating crap. Pick yours. And it's not even processed food anymore. It is ultra processed. The amount of color. Do you know Fruit Loops? Processed food, processed cereal. Your breakfast is the unhealthiest meal of the day because most of you are eating highly refined. You know what I eat for breakfast? You know what my son eats for breakfast? We eat fruit. Make a smoothie every day. Make that your breakfast. It's so simple to do and so healthy. So a cup of fruit, pick your fruit. I don't care what kind of fruit. A cup of whatever, water, tea, whatever kind of milk, and a cup of greens, any kind of greens. I use kale. I have a garden. I'm very lucky. So yeah, the highest source of fiber in the standard American diet, they did a survey, 95% of the people believe that steak meat has fiber in it. There's absolutely no fiber in animal products. Just letting you know that. All right, that's Joey in The Wizard of Oz saying, where are we? Are we in Oz? Who really believes this? And yeah, Wonder Bread was because they highly refined it and then they added 8 vitamins back. There's no vibes in it. So your body doesn't know what to do. And so it turns it into fat because it goes, what the heck is this? And when it doesn't know what to do with something, it turns it into fat and it stores it around all your vital organs. And then they say fat's a bad thing, but it's not. It's the processed food. And when they add the fiber to the processed food, your microbiome can't use it because there's no vibes. Your microbiome is real cells. Your cells go, where's the vibes? Anyway, SAD stands for Standard American Diet, one of the awesomest acronyms of all time. 2010, I know these are old numbers, but they've only gotten worse. 90% of Americans did not eat enough veggies. So we flew 10 years ago, 12 years ago in 2010, Joey and I flew Korean Air to Nepal. And they gave you a choice. Do you want the American meal or the Korean meal? I'm like, oh, let's go Korean. And it was really this kind of difference. I didn't take this picture, but anyway, the orange is the kimchi, so the spices, and there was really no difference. 75% of Americans do not even eat 1 piece of fruit a day, 3 pieces of fruit a day. Right now, oh my gosh, farmers market, the nectarines, the local ones, or just go for a walk on there's blackberries everywhere. So yeah, the processed cereal can't do that, but you can have all the fruits and a handful of nuts a day. American diet, there's the orange. See the little orange? Yeah, doesn't count as fruit. That's highly processed. 96% do not eat greens or beans at least 3 times a week. You should be eating both 3 times a day. 98% don't eat the color orange other than in Skittles. You should eat the color orange. Pumpkins, it's not the fall, but when I do this talk in the fall. And 99% don't eat enough whole grains, because grains got a bad name because they were highly processed. Whole grains, real grains, freaking amazing. All right, alkaline acidosis. Back to our topic. Acidosis, your body becomes low pH because you're eating highly refined food. It lowers the pH. Your body tries to buffer it by pulling calcium from your teeth and bones. And then your teeth and bones become weak and brittle, and you have all kind of illnesses. Anything from your skin to your menstrual cycle to, cancer, osteoporosis, intestinal issues. And oh, wait a minute. Yeah, we have processed food, but look at the other thing on here. All the animal products. And the alkaline foods, it's real food. It's the food of Mother Nature. So, quick comment, because high protein diet, this should say high animal protein diet or highly processed protein diet. It acidifies the blood. There you go. It's the number one thing to acidify the blood. So it is refined food as well as too much animal. I'm not saying you can't eat any meat. I've made the choice to not eat animal products for personal reasons, but it causes, I can give you umpteen resources for this. Number one cause of osteoporosis, fractures, and arthritis is too much animal protein consumption in the American diet. And cancer loves the acidity. All degenerative diseases, biggest study ever done. So Dr. T. Colin Campbell, who's thriving in his 90s, grew up on a meat and dairy farm, amazing story, has written several amazing books, one of my heroes. And the study was done looking at Americans and people in China over like decades. This was started in the 80s, I think, and looked at the rates of degenerative diseases. And what they found was the higher the animal product, the higher the heart disease, the higher the different, every type of cancer, and also your kidneys, because protein has nitrogen and you can't take in more nitrogen than your body needs. And your kidneys is the only way to get rid of the nitrogen. So you end up with this pain in your lower back, and we blame it on our lower back, but it's often because our kidneys are overworked. And people who don't eat real food, they don't poop. You should be having a bowel movement 2 to 3 times a day. Yes, I said a day. So ketoacidosis, it is called acidosis. And then we can talk about the whole ethical thing. That's the nicest picture of what they did, of all the antibiotics, all the toxins, the growth hormones that they are doing to the cows, which is awful. And oh yeah, it suppresses the immune system. Kind of are having a problem with that. So alkaline blood, eat your veggies, your fruits, your immune system will vibrate correctly. And Mother Earth, she would appreciate if we kept ourselves healthy by eating real food, the food that she has provided for us. So you have a choice. This time the alkaline is on the left side. This black and white is a beautiful picture. So look at the immune cell, because your blood has more than just your red blood cells, has the white blood cells, and the slightly acidic blood, which means below 7.3, which is the standard American, is the red blood cells look like ninja swords, and the immune cells, no wonder people have no immune system. Their immune system, and they have fungus. Did you see that? There was fungus in there, and cancer cells live on ketones. So the references are, there's this amazing book. He doesn't actually have the references in the book. There's so many, over 8,000, that there's a barcode in the back. You scan the barcode, type in the number, and it takes you to the paper. So they doubled breast cancer growth and metastasis by feeding him ketones. The keto diet is a fad. It comes and goes every 10 to 20 years because the long-term effects are not pretty. And the recommendation is the opposite of the keto diet, which is you got to eat real food, including legumes. Legumes are beans. Eat beans. So high vegetable, fruit, whole grains, and low in animal fat, and processed. I left that slide out, but there's a perfect mimicking behind the increase in like everything. And this, we've added processed oils to everything. So I was at my mom's, And I cooked for a month, and within 2 weeks, her blood pressure, we had to take her off of some of her blood pressure medication because her blood pressure was going low, and she's so happy. And I just can't use oil to cook. And 4 years ago, when I was told that, I'm like, there's no way you can cook without oil. And oh my gosh, your food is so much better. You can't eat processed food. There's so many types of oils, and there's so many names for sugar. Anyway, nitrogen has to be removed. And so if you're eating too much protein, especially those protein energy drinks that everybody wants to have, your kidneys get overworked. You don't want a diseased kidney, and you just want to eat real food because your body can't overdo it. And then people will say, well, okay, I will stop eating meat, but chicken's okay, right? Well, it turns out 1896, chicken was 23% protein and less than 2% fat. So if we lived in 1896, I'd probably say, okay. And if you have your own chickens, okay. So a century of selective breeding, pretty much your guys' lifetime. By 1996, 1,000% increase in fat in chicken. So there's no such thing as chicken little anymore. 70% of the calories in chicken are now fat. Is it really the healthy white meat? It's actually the unhealthiest. Yeah, and then there's this whole thing where if you add barbecue sauce, which is really high in sugar, and then heat to a high temperature, you create the nitrosamines, which then your liver doesn't know what it's doing. And so high temperature cooking, it's summertime. We all want fresh food anyway. And so here we go. So chicken is highly processed now. This is the greatest part. So our federal guidelines say 25% junk food is okay. The standard American diet, this is again pre-COVID. It's actually worse. It's now down below 4% fruits and vegetables a day. And by the way, in case you don't know, processed meat is a class 1 carcinogen. It's up there with plutonium. So every time I see people eating bacon, I'm like, would you like to add some plutonium to it? We could just all go to Hanford and lick the reactors there and see what happens. So 95% of Americans exceed the guideline that you can only have 25% of your diet as junk food because we're eating 95% of our diet is junk food. And you end up with chronic systemic metabolic acidosis. And these are some of the signs. And that was Joey. He was a little bit chubby. Yeah. And then Joey's now like his mom, doesn't eat meat, except when a student will bring me Alaskan salmon. And I'm not going to say no to Alaskan salmon. So last year, I thought I deleted this, but anyway, this is not part of your lab. You are going to, for 7 days a night, you're going to cut the crap. You are going to somehow cut the crap from your diet. So whether it's sugar, whether it's chips, whether it's Coca-Cola, whether it's, I don't know. You can be like Rocky. You're gonna eat avocados. You can be like, you know what? I've always wanted to give up animal products. You could do that. You could say, you know what? I eat donuts. I'm gonna give up donuts, but don't give up donuts and start eating muffins because muffins are really bad. So give up Starbucks for a week. Give up, Marquise, he gave up any place that has a drive-through. So he stopped going to fast food. And this was back in 2021 in the winter term. And anyway. So you're going to give up whatever your crap go to. It could be your candy drawer that, yeah, every day I eat a Snickers. And it's not that you're going to give up one crappy thing for another thing. If you drink soda, give up soda for 7 days. Do it for the whole term. That would be great. Sorry, that's from last term. I just looked this over. So there is extra credit. So for 7 days, you're giving up your crap, whatever your big crap thing is you need to give up. You don't have to give up everything unless you think you can do it. Then great, go for it. It's going to make your brain shine. So by the first midterm, all right, that is part of Lab 1. The other part we do in person. And then you just write up what you did for the 7 days and how you felt after 7 days. Then you don't have to give up coffee. You're giving up the crappy coffee. You can do black coffee. You can add honey. Honey's good, real honey. I know it sounds weird at first, but all right. So you can do extra credit for 30 days. You can give up the crap for 30 days, or you can do a healthy. You can be real for 30 days. You can eat legumes. You can do 3 pieces of fruit for 30 days. That's Joey in Nepal. You can be like Shanti and do a salad every day. My dog is 9 pounds, so she's really, my kale's that big. There's Rocky too. You can eat a rainbow every day for 30 days, 39. And at the end of the term, we start on August 1st. So you have to start August 1st and we end on August 31st. And at the end of the 30 days, you're right about what you did, your thoughts, what happened. And there we go. All right. I hope I inspired you to do something. And I will see you in the next one. Ta-ta.